4 and 6-year-old Jack and Lilly Sullivan went missing from their home in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia on May 2nd, 2025. If you have any information, please contact the Pictou County RCMP at 1-902-485-4333. In our episode today, we speak with Jordan Bonaparte of the Nighttime Podcast and his guest Madelayne Klein, who have been speaking about these disappearances since they happened. Lance, what'd you think of this conversation?
Well, this has been a great first part of a two-part conversation with fellow content creators in the true crime genre. We love having Jordan on, and any friend of Jordan is a friend of ours, and it was great to see the two of them come on and witness the way they work together. They have been covering Jack and Lilly's disappearance since the beginning, since, like you said, since it happened, and they have a really interesting backstory where they're both true crime content creators who have appreciated each other's work, and now they've come together for this piece of content that is designed to continue the information coverage, to continue putting out as much information about these two children as possible. And it is in Jordan's backyard, kind of, in a sense, and Madelayne is also in Canada. So this is something that's in their territory, and they cover it with the highest degree of respect. And again, love having Jordan on, and I cannot wait to have the two of them on again, hopefully with some positive updates regarding this story.
All right, please follow us on social media at MissingCSM. We will return for final thoughts after part 2 that airs tomorrow. Thanks a lot for listening. We're going to break quick for commercial here. Madelayne and Jordan, welcome to the podcast. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing very well today, Tim. Great to be here with some friendly folks down in the US of A. Happy to be back.
I'm thrilled to be here with, I was going to say the two of you, but the three of you. Jordan's just like he's always there with me, so.
She's used to me now.
I'm just so used to him.
As a fun game to try to start the show, guys, why don't you try to pronounce the province of Canada that Madelayne's from?
Saskatchewan.
Oh, I thought that would be more difficult.
Did you want to try to pronounce Massachusetts?
Yeah, Massachusetts. My mouth that doesn't have the right shape to say it.
Say, there are some words that are like that. I have the hardest time, and this is one word that we use all the time doing these shows, is corroborate.
Oh,
that's the best I can say. Corroborate.
Yeah, it's not too bad, and I guess that's with about 10 years of practice.
And just me like sitting in like alone. If I'm alone somewhere, no one's like around, I will practice that word.
Corroborate. Yeah.
Corroborate.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't even. It stumbles off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to meet you, Madelayne. Do you want to let our listeners in on who you are for the few people out there who don't know who you are?
Well, my name is Madelayne Klein. I am a regular co-host on the Nighttime Podcast with Jordan. We do various things, mostly true crime and our Encounters with Creeps episodes that are very popular and very, very fun, usually. I don't want to say claim to fame, but I've got a large following on TikTok. I started covering Canadian true crime on TikTok years ago, and Jordan and I ended up meeting through a video I did on YouTube about Emily Bailey.
Yeah, we covered the same missing persons case, and I guess our paths crossed, and then it was like, let's do an episode together about that case, and then let's do another one and another one. And now I guess like the most relevant thing is with Madelayne and I's paths crossing is we've been doing almost weekly episodes covering the disappearance of Jack and Lilly Sullivan, who went missing on the 2nd of May this year in Nova Scotia. It's been a case that's caught both of our attention, and we've just dug in pretty deep to this one.
And he can't get rid of me now, so.
That too.
Here I am.
So what's your entry conversation point, Jordan, when you're reaching out? Because you've done this successfully. You reached out, and now, Madelayne, you've been on the show a number of times. You have segments that the two of you do together. He must have said something that interested you enough to respond? Because I imagine that you'd probably get a number of people reaching out about certain cases. So, Jordan, was there some sort of special Canadian, I don't know,
handshake?
Handshake or some special phrase or something, some je ne
magic
sais
word?
quoi?
No, none of that. I didn't mail her maple syrup or a picture of a lighthouse or a lobster. It was simply that she had done a video about a case I had recently covered, and she tagged my show in her video, like being like, I heard something from, or I think it was her research notes had tagged.
I got lots of my info from his podcast episodes.
Yeah. Then I watched the video and I'm like, well, like she's really good. And she does video, and I hate video. I wonder if she'd want to do audio. And I wrote her and just been like, if you want to do an episode about that case, like just a discussion, let's do it. You know it well. I had covered it recently and know it well. And you know what it's like when you just talk to someone and there's just something about it. You're like-minded, I guess you would say. Her and I were just that way. So it's like, let's do another case. Let's do another case. And that was, I don't even know how long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, Madelayne. And we've been doing them regularly.
Two and a half.
2.5
years. Yeah.
I was just a young man then.
Wow.
Well, very cool. Well, we're glad that you are both together and that you're covering the disappearances of Jack and Lilly Sullivan. I've been following your coverage. It's very interesting. Certainly had a feeling like the case was going to break at any moment in the early days of the case and of your coverage and listening to you both. But now there's a different vibe to the case and to your coverage. But before we get there, I guess, can you guys just take us back to the disappearances of Jack and Lilly, and how did it happen?
I'll give the kind of the quick and dirty version of the known widely accepted facts. Is Jack is 4 years old. His older sister Lilly is 6 years old. They live in an area called Pictou County in Nova Scotia, which is for the most part, a rural area in Nova Scotia, but they do actually live in the more remote part of Pictou County. So they're from a rural area. On the morning of May 2nd, so just over 3 months from the time of our recording, according to their caregivers, their parents, it was in the home with Jack and Lilly were their mother, Madelayne Brooks, and their stepfather, Daniel Martel. According to the initial reports, when Daniel and Madelayne woke up around 10 in the morning, Jack and Lilly were gone. They called 911, reported them missing. A search happened and found no sign of Jack and Lilly, or no trail of Jack and Lilly. When to give a bit more info on that morning, according to the stepfather Daniel and the mother Madelayne, what they had described when going into more detail is they were kind of like in bed, kind of like dozing off. They have another baby, so they were in bed with their baby, and they heard Jack and Lilly get up and making some noise around the house, around and whatnot. Eventually, Jack and Lilly must have gone outside. The parents, the stepfather and mother, must have drifted back to sleep. And it wasn't like a noise or a sudden event that woke them from the sleep. It was actually the silence. They're just like, whoa, like, I don't hear Jack and Lilly anymore. What's going on? And when they looked, Jack and Lilly were nowhere to be found. And that's what led to the 911 call reporting them missing that morning. And when Madelayne and I first covered the case, or when I first even heard this on the news, I thought it was going to be one of those things where later that night they were found in the forest behind their house, or maybe at a friend's house that they wandered off to or something like that. We did an episode maybe 3 days after the children went missing. And even as I was editing, preparing to release it, I'm like, this is going to be solved before I even get this episode out. Because it just seemed like two children together in the middle of nowhere. How could they possibly wander off far enough that nobody finds them within a day or two? But no one did. And to this day now, again, over 3 months later, there's next to no information or evidence or sign as to where they may have went. And it seems that everything the RCMP, which is our national police force, and that's the police force that's investigating the disappearance, every statement or press release they give just seems to raise more questions than anything else.
Well, and Tim, you mentioned right at the beginning here that this case, like the vibe is a little bit different than 3 months ago when it first started. But I feel like this case, the vibe changed the first week, day to day, and then it kept changing week to week almost. When they originally went missing, the first day or two, we were so sure those kids were in the woods and that we'd be getting good news soon. And then it kind of started to shift, and people started having doubts and pointing their fingers at parents and whoever else. And then all of a sudden, the internet gets a hold of this, and all of these crazy ideas and conspiracies come out. There was a party, trafficking's being thrown around. And then it kind of goes quiet, and then people are on the parents' side, and it's just very interesting to see how everything's shifted throughout the last 3 months.
It's been a complete roller coaster, and at the center of it all is just the question of like, is this a missing persons investigation or a criminal investigation? And that's also something that the investigative police force has never straightforward has given an answer to, but there is a lot of they do show their cards quite often, and to me it seems for the pretty much since a week or two after the children were last seen, it seems to be a criminal investigation. The police have all said at maybe 2 weeks after the disappearance that they don't believe the children are alive anymore. They gave that announcement publicly when they scaled back the large-scale ground search that was taking place around the children's home, one of the largest ground searches in the history of Nova Scotia. So we're talking, drones, helicopters, massive amounts of volunteer and professional searchers and dogs searching the woods that found nothing.
I want to go back real quick, and it kind of is part of what you just said, Jordan, but I want to go back to this vibe changing, and I'm curious, Madelayne, when you were just speaking, and again, this is kind of what Jordan just mentioned with how the activities that were surrounding the search kind of changed. When you were sensing that this vibe was changing and announcements were being made that they probably weren't alive and they're scaling back, what was your internal decision-making process there? And then how did you communicate that to Jordan? Like, how do we cover this now? How do we kind of stand out from, like you said, you start getting all these crazy theories online? Like, you need to come with your content being responsible and identifying and sort of directing people on where the right place to look is, right? I mean, I not look for them, but to look for good information.
Well, that's exactly it. Jordan and I's outlook on our podcast episodes have been facts only. We're not going to give any time to the, there's no evidence of, if there's no evidence of something, we're not going to give any time to it. There's people on the internet are insane. We've all learned. And, with a case like this, it's internet fodder for crazy people. So, and anything for a click. People will manipulate audio and video and make it so it's the most
salacious.
Salacious. Thank you, Jordan. Anything for clickbait, and it doesn't need to be true. And they being, anyone on the internet. These people don't even need a big following on TikTok or YouTube. People in the comments on Facebook, they'll just say anything. They'll, they think they've got an idea and they think they're right, and they'll post slanderous stuff on the internet as truth, and people will roll with that because fact checking just doesn't exist.
Yeah, and the higher profile the case, the more intense the misinformation, be it intentional or not, the more intense that comes. And I have never seen anything like what I see happening with the Jack and Lily case. So that there are videos that I see posted to YouTube with, a thumbnail of, say, like the stepfather looking concerned that's been pulled from a news clip with captions like "arrest imminent. What he admits will shock you." And you look and the video has like 1.4 million views. And then when you click the video, what it is like, some psychic being interviewed by some person in another part of the world that can't even pronounce the cities, referenced in this case. And it's, there is so much of that it's really hard to separate, what's actually happening versus what is just the noise online. And yeah, like Madelayne said, that's been our thing since the beginning, as we've been like, let's do a weekly episode that just takes what new developments and new information that we can stand behind and not be embarrassed 3 weeks later if someone listens to this episode, and let's share that stuff. And not to dunk on you guys, but I think when I'm covering like an ongoing missing persons case, I learned a lot from what you've done in the past, especially with Missing Maura Murray. Like, I think that show and your early coverage of that case has just been like it's almost been like university for someone podcasting about an ongoing missing persons case. And I don't know if I'm bringing up a pain spot, but was not one of your most controversial episodes like a psychic or something?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Probably true.
Yeah, we definitely swam in those controversial waters a bit more in those early days, sort of entertaining some of the online speculation. Just, I don't know. Times have changed in a lot of ways. There's definitely a different atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, what you did was different, of course, because you were covering not just the case, but the subculture and everything surrounding it. What we're doing is we're just trying to just unpack the weekly update. So when we release a new episode covering this case, it's generally going to be like, here's everything that changed factually over the last, week or 2 weeks, or maybe someone close to the case spoke publicly. We would discuss that. That's kind of what we focused on.
Yeah, I'm always interested in the culture around these cases too, though, I will say, but I think you guys are probably drawing the appropriate line there, and just sticking to the facts. And I think you mentioned university, Missing Maura Murray being a university for some folks covering missing persons cases. I would say, I think you're right, but you will learn as much what not to do as much as what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why it's a university course, listening to that. And I did it in real time. Like when you guys were starting, you were the only podcast really doing that style of show. So as I was watching it, it was like, wow, this is this incredible new format for following a case like this in real time. And yeah, watching you climb to peaks and stumble at times, that has taught me so much through podcasting. And that's why I always thank you guys when I'm talking to you.
And that's why we have you on, because sometimes we just get a little down over here, and then you come on and you pick us back up, and we're ready to go again for another 10 years. And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
I got an idea for us here. I don't know how you want to get into this, but one of the things I've done, I've mentioned Madelayne and I have done kind of weekly episodes about major updates and developments. In preparation for our talk tonight, I kind of picked out some of the most, in my mind at least, some of the most important or game-changing developments. And if you want, I can kind of present a few of them, and we can, I can give you a bit of background, and we can go through it that way.
Absolutely, please take it away.
Yeah, because what we did at this point, we've kind of talked about the absolute basics of the disappearance. We explained how there was a large-scale search. The search was eventually called off, with the police in a press conference all but saying the reason they're stopping searching is because they don't think the children would have been able to survive in the woods for as long as the searching is commenced. So there wasn't this, need to continue with that. That all happened within the first probably 10 days to 2 weeks of the disappearance of Jack and Lily. And in my mind, it was at that point that the case really changed and went from we're searching for these kids to we're investigating something way different than kids wandering away. And just to give a bit of background on the location where this disappearance happened, imagine a home on a rural highway. The home is set back from the street quite a bit, as Jack and Lily's were. They lived in a very rundown trailer. In the backyard of the trailer is this rudimentary fence that has a little play area that the kids had, like a slide and swing set. And there's a separate trailer back there that the children's stepfather's mother lived in. So Jack and Lily, with their mother and stepfather, lived in this one main trailer. In the backyard is a smaller trailer with the children's stepfather, Daniel Martel's mother, living in.
It's like an RV.
Yeah, an RV is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In behind their property is just forest for as far as you can imagine. In front of the property, again, is a highway. So the children, when they go missing, it's unlikely that they would have walked to the highway, according to the parents. They believed it would be more likely they went down into the woods, like into the back of the house. They had like a cabin and stuff up there. That's where the search mainly took place. Found nothing. The search is called off. But the first thing that really changed my mind about the case was I wouldn't even call them a neighbor. It's someone came forward from a neighboring community that was like, I think it ended up being like a 45-minute drive from where the children went missing to where this person lived. And this person came forward and appeared on CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, or national news. They appeared on CBC to recount an unusual visit from the RCMP, who was investigating the disappearance of Jack and Lily, and an odd request from them. I have a short news clip here. This aired about 3 weeks after the children went missing, and this concerns the police beginning their investigation into things that have happened days before the children's disappearance. Listen to this.
Melissa Scott's trail cameras might contain clues about the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan. RCMP asked her for days of footage as the investigation into the missing children approaches the 3-week mark. This is some of the footage Scott gave police. She says RCMP major crimes officers came to her home this week, asking for everything on her 7 cameras, starting April 27th, 5 days before the kids were reported missing. 2 of Scott's neighbors were also asked to provide footage to RCMP. She says the officers also asked about her family's vehicles to rule out local traffic in the footage.
Possibly they are wondering if they didn't go missing earlier, or maybe somebody who isn't local to the area was around beforehand.
This road is the most direct path from Scott's property to the home the kids went missing from. We drove between the 2 places. It's about an 18-minute drive down rough dirt roads. Straight through the woods, it's about 5 kilometers.
I did mention to them that I was very happy to see them and glad that they were canvassing a little further and looking at trail cam footage. And they did respond saying that they probably should have been around earlier.
RCMP would not answer CBC's questions, including why they are seeking trail camera footage from before the disappearance and why they are identifying local vehicles.
So when you hear that, the question that comes up is, why would they be looking for footage days before the kids went missing? Again, the children were reported missing the morning of May 2nd. It was said by the parents that they woke up that morning and they were gone. But an interesting caveat in this is the children weren't in school like several days leading up to their disappearance. So a lot of people in the early on were left questioning, like, when did they actually go missing? Could there be something more going on? Maybe were they missing, 3 days prior to this? When we hear that the RCMP are, a 20-minute drive away getting trail cam footage from like 5 or 6 days before the disappearance, this news clip really shook up the case and the discussion for me.
And what was your first thoughts on that, Madelayne?
Oh, well, that changed the whole outlook of the case, right? I think they started to ask for footage from days before because there was so much online almost backlash, because when word came out that, the kids hadn't been in school for days, no one's seen them, they figured like, yeah, maybe there is something more to this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was just unfortunately the beginning of really throwing the parents under the bus. And we later find out that the kids were seen just the day before. There's, lots of footage from, I think, at a mall or something.
Yeah. I can update on that because it's what had happened was when this news clip came out, this was a national news clip because people across the country are talking about this case. When it comes out that the police are looking for video days before the disappearance, it almost seemed like the internet unanimously decided that is because the parents did something horrible and they're hiding it. People went at the parents hardcore after this. And I think almost to disperse all of that attention and to get everyone to put their pitchforks away, only days later, the RCMP got in front of this news clip by doing a press release where they explained exactly when the children were last seen. I'll play another clip of that because I have it in front of me here. This was a press release that the investigative police force streamed online.
As the missing persons investigation into the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan continues, we are appealing to the public for additional video footage. Investigators have collected hours of video from areas surrounding Lansdowne Station. Based on details gathered so far, we have confirmed that Lilly and Jack were observed in public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st. Investigators are now asking anyone who has dash cam footage or video along Garlick Road between noon on April 28th and noon on May 2nd to contact Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit.
So with that press release, what they are saying is like, yeah, we want footage from days prior, but the day before they went missing, we know they were safe, at least. So whatever happened would have, if you believe the parents, it happened the morning of May 2nd when it went missing. But even if you're critical of the parents, on the afternoon of May 1st, the day prior, they were fine then. So, and we still want footage, 4 or 5 days prior to that, if you have it on your dash cam or whatever else. But to me, this is it. Like, what do you guys think as outsiders looking at this case? Is that not weird that they want video footage of days before the children wandered away, if that's what actually happened?
I mean, it seems weird now. Like, I'm confused on what they're looking for. After hearing that the kids were seen in public, the day before their disappearance, I'm very confused why they're looking previous to that. I mean, I can only speculate they're looking for some signs of abuse or something like that. But again, that's not going to help them find Jack and Lily, or even really what happened to them.
And you're not going to find like signs of abuse on like someone's dash cam or something. To me, it's the only thing they could possibly be doing is looking at vehicles coming and going. And the interesting part of that is when the RCMP, the police force investigating this, speaks publicly, it's always been speaking about it as these children wandered away into the woods. They searched the woods like crazy. Even after the search ended, they did a second and a third search in the forest behind the children's home, which would imply that all the while they're investigating it as if the children wandered away. And if the children simply wandered away, there should be nothing that any dash cam is going to show you 3 days before that. Like, I think there's 2 investigations happening. The private one, behind the scenes, behind closed doors at a police station, seems to be looking at it as a criminal event involving an abduction or some person showing up in a vehicle that may show up on on someone's dash cam or video doorbell or something. And then there's the public investigation, and that's the one they talk about on the news. And that seems to be a more like, collaborative with the public, and we need to find the children who wandered away. But I'm sure the discussions behind closed doors are completely different, and all signs point to that, and have pointed to that since 2 weeks after the disappearance.
Well, and it was after this press release that more of the kidnapping rumors came about. They're like, if they want video or dash cam footage and security footage from days before, they're monitoring what cars were going by and who was in the area, because this Lansdowne
Station,
there's going to be the locals and that's it. So they're probably looking for suspicious people or people who haven't been there. And since these kids haven't been found in the woods, what's the next? Like, people need answers and they need them now. So they'll just make something up in their head to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And that's when that came about. They were kidnapped.
In the press release, did they specifically say, and I don't remember if I heard this, did they specifically say they wanted footage so that they could identify individuals that might be the kids? Did they specify that they were looking for specifically Jack and Lily, or are they looking for anything? Are they saying like anything, like maybe somebody coming out of the woods with a shovel or something like that?
They have never said exactly what they want to see. They just want that video footage.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. And it certainly, in my mind, points to it being investigated as a possible kidnapping, which is highly unusual for 2 kids in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Rural Nova Scotia. But there has always been these kind of people close to this story that a lot of people have questions about. For one, of course, is the mother and stepfather, who are the ones that reported them missing. What really makes them interesting is the fact that 2 days after the children were reported missing, they broke up. Daniel, the stepfather, he's the one who owns the home that the children were living in. He stayed at the home where the children disappeared from. The children's mother, Malaya Brooks, she left that area to move to a different part of Nova Scotia to be closer with her family, and she's largely been silent. That said, she doesn't owe the media, grieving mother on the news appearances. But a lot of people had questions of, what a strange coincidence to break up 2 days after 2 children go missing under suspicious circumstances. So they've always had fingers pointed at them. But I've mentioned that Daniel Martel, who was in the home and owned the home where the children disappeared from, he's not the children's biological father. He's the stepfather. So a lot of people had questions about who is the biological father? Could he, could it be some kind of custody thing? And he came and scooped up the kids. A lot of people said, no, it couldn't be him. He's in jail. A lot of people said, he's not in jail. He's never been in jail. But he has been a mystery figure in this story until his mother, the children's paternal grandmother, she appeared on the news, and she also dispersed a whole lot of mystery and rumors by giving her side of the story. Her name is Belinda Gray, and she talked a bit on the news for like kind of like the sit down interview where she discussed her relationship with the children and her son, the children's biological father's relationship with the children. And she talked as well about her interviews with the police about it. Let's listen to a bit of Belinda Gray discussing this.
It was around between 3 and 3:30 in the morning. A couple of cop cars pull into the driveway. The lights wake me up that I'm a fairly light sleeper, so I see the cars pull in, so I knew what it was. So they come inside. They only stood in the kitchen. They wanted me to wake Cody up, and they wanted to know when was the last time he had seen the kids, and that they were just making sure that the kids weren't here. And then they left.
Were you ever formally questioned?
Yes.
So then it's about a month after Lilly and Jack are last seen that they come and formally question you.
So it's about 3 weeks. They question Cody for an hour and a half in the vehicle, and then they question me for 2 hours in the vehicle.
How did that feel to you?
I didn't mind. I mean, to me, I expect I'm the grandmother. So it wasn't a surprise to me. I'm assuming the sooner they do all that, I wish they would have done it sooner, that the sooner they can move on. So I didn't have a problem. My son was a little upset about it. He said they made him feel like he did something wrong, and he said he hadn't seen the kids in 3 years. So he was a little upset about it, that he said that they really come at him hard. They wanted to know what her favorite color was, and he said they were babies when I seen them last. He said she was just learning what she wanted to figure out to eat. I don't know what her color is. So yeah, he was pretty upset.
Have they ever talked to him again since then?
A couple of days ago, they had contact, and they told him that they weren't looking his way anymore, that everything was fine.
And have they ever given you any information?
No, it's always the same thing.
Which is what?
They've got everybody on it. They are looking at all avenues. They can't divulge any information that could compromise their investigation. It's the exact same words.
It's pretty fascinating, but it's, as you hear there, the biological father says he's never been involved in the children's lives. But, if you read online, there's as many people pointing a finger at him as anyone else.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
And those people online, are they in this like one particular group, or where does it start? Do you have a group of people who are just constantly doing this?
This case is big, and I think it's spread between TikTok and creators on TikTok who are intentionally using salacious, exaggerated, and downright false statements about the case. It's on YouTube as well. There are multiple creators on YouTube specifically covering this case from outside of the area that appear to me, at least, to be more than willing to exaggerate or make speculative claims that go nowhere. And then all of that gets picked up by people in the community or in Nova Scotia or across Canada who are trying to find out what's going on in the case. And if you are just like, yeah, I wonder what's happening with Jack and Lilly. It's been 3 months. I'm going to Google it, or I'm going to go on YouTube. You may find someone who's looking straight at the camera, straight face, saying, and then the father said this and the stepmother said that, and, they're lying and the police know it. And we have insiders who are going to, the arrest is imminent. You won't believe what he said. It's captured on video, all that sort of stuff. There is so much of that. And it's just the ecosystem of the internet allows the facts and the official reports to mix up with the random nonsense. And one other thing I'll say about this, I know a lot of listeners of yours are in the United States and abroad. An interesting thing's happening in Canada right now is our government is having a big dispute with Facebook, or well, Meta, who owns Facebook, about the Canadian government wants Meta to pay the government a kind of subsidy to make up for the lost revenue that our news media has as a result of more ad money going to Meta. So basically, the government is saying, Meta, since you're profiting from our Canadian news companies, we want you to give us $100 million a year or something like that. What Meta said is, we're not giving you anything. The government said, well, we'll pass a law saying you have to. And they did. So what Meta did is said, okay, we're just going to block all news sites from taking part in Facebook. And now if Tim or Lance, if one of you sent me a news clip or posted a link to a news article on your Facebook page and I looked at it, I would see that you made a post, but then there'd just be a little block that says, a little like box that said, this content is not available in Canada. So you can't share official news in Canada, but what you could share is Jimmy Nonsense from YouTube, who's talking about his nonsense. That's not news, so you can share that. So what's happening in Canada right now is misinformation has filled the void that is created by the lack of actual news being able to be shared on Facebook.
Dude, that is scary.
Isn't it?
That is really scary when you think about it. So this misinformation news, this salacious news, is news there now.
It's fine, yeah. So when your crazy aunt and uncle on Facebook, when they won't see the vetted news from a professional journalist at a reputable organization, but they will see my nonsense blog or the YouTube video or the TikTok video. So it's easier to get information from those sites now in Canada. What a lot of people do to try to work around it is, since you can't share news, people will take screenshots of like news articles and post them. But just the way that formats and lays out on Facebook, it's easier to just share a ridiculous YouTube video that's full of lies.
It's all across Meta. Like, you can't even, on Instagram, you have, like, if you're sharing a story, you can put a link in. You can't link a CBC link or any news link. It doesn't let you. So
that's incredible. So is it any country that send, like, if someone in Italy were to send you something, would that be, or is it just the United States?
That's a good question, but it's Canadian news sites that are being banned. So we have in Canada, we have probably 10 to 25 like major news sites. Like the American equivalent would be like, CNN, Fox, CNBC, these big news sites. We have our own versions in Canada, and all of them, their content and their URLs are just blocked. So if Tim posts an article on his from CBC about Jack and Lily on his Facebook page and I look at it, I will just see a box that says this content is unavailable in Canada. And I can't even see what it could be or what the URL is. It's just completely blocked. And it's been that way for quite a while now. And
like at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Really?
It is quite dystopian. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the thing about, like, you can get your news from, you can download the CBC app or whatever it is. But lots of people don't do that.
Yeah, because it's a couple extra steps to get there. You
Right.
want to just scroll through your feed. And when you scroll through your feed and you see a thumbnail that says, bombshell in the Jack and Lily case, arrest imminent. You click it and the psychic is, what I'm getting at with it. But
and the more views something has, the more believable people think it is. And they'll believe anything without fact checking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's too many steps.
Wow. Yeah. Geez, I could see how that could really lead to some serious problems. Hopefully that's not, messing with the actual official investigation.
The only impact I think it could possibly have is the amount of like tips. Like the police have been pleading with anyone who may know anything to contact them. And at this point, and they've been releasing periodic updates to let people know how many interviews we've done, how many polygraphs we've given, and how many tips we've received from the public. I think the tip count is over 700 now, and the police have said that they're investigating and taking every single tip seriously. and that they're taking all investigative efforts to find Jack and Lilly. So I think this is like a balls to the wall investigation that at this point has gone nowhere, but major questions remain, of course. One thing I want to highlight, this is another kind of moment in this story that has always, I wouldn't say rubbed me the wrong way, but just it hasn't sat well. So we heard prior that they're looking for video footage in the lead up to the disappearance. Then they came forward and said, like, we know that they were safe the day prior to their disappearance. We saw them, or somebody saw them the afternoon of May 1st. The children's stepfather, Daniel Martel, he appeared on CBC News, gave an interview talking about the polygraph tests that he took that had questions specifically about, did you harm Jack and Lilly? Were you involved in the murder of Jack and Lilly? These sorts of things. But one of the things they asked him about was that sighting of Jack and Lilly the day before the disappearance. And the way he answered it, it just kind of surprised me, because if the children were seen safe the day before the disappearance, what secrets would there be surrounding that? And listen to the way he answers the question. This tells me there's more to this disappearance, this sighting the day prior.
The kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before the disappearance in the afternoon.
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malaya, and Meadow, and Lilly and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do. I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before the disappearance.
So I don't know if I read too far into it, but just to me, if they were seen the day before, be it at a grocery store or outside the mall, why? Like, I don't know if I can say that. It just, I felt like he was like really biting onto some fact that he was holding back, probably due to advice from the police. But that just seems weird to me.
The part about him not being confident in saying exactly where?
Yeah, like, why would you hold that information in? Like, because again, if they went missing by wandering away the next morning, and you're talking about the last time they were filmed, the afternoon before, be it at a grocery store, at a mall or something, I just can't imagine why it would be this like guarded, why there would be facts or details related to that you would be keeping so close to the chest.
May I offer an opinion on that?
You got 20 seconds, yeah.
All right. Perhaps in the video footage, there's something suspicious happening in like a vehicle that became present in investigators. Like maybe they saw that while they were looking at the video, and that is a piece of information that they need to keep to themselves. And obviously the family would know because they're part of the video, but that piece of information, like where this suspicious vehicle was at that time, can't be out in the public because they need to have that be that piece of information that only that person knows.
And maybe they don't even want to give the location for fear of spooking the creep that was in the parking lot that day.
For sure, yeah.
Right. That was kind of where I was going, was I think maybe it has something more to do with the location. Maybe there's like a store that they were in, beyond the mall, and maybe there's someone they're investigating that works at that store or something like that.
Yeah.
My first thought was he's tired of being scrutinized on the internet and just wants to shut up.
That's probably good advice.
Cover his own ass and don't give the internet anything more to put under a microscope.
Part 2 of this conversation will be out tomorrow. Please let us know what you think on YouTube or Spotify. Thanks a lot for listening.